A final chance to prove they belong in the group stage. Winner of this goes through to tomorrow. Would not automatically qualify for groups, but does give themselves another shot at that grand prize. Let's get on into Draft 4 Game 1. I know stylistically these two teams have very different ideas behind their drafts.
You can already see that, right? Doggos is receiving a lot of bans here. Felius has been hot banned 100% of the times against him. Draven coming in here as well, seeing yesterday how he had such an amazing performance on the pick. And on the other side, you can see Mojito as well with the jungle style. He's been able to accelerate for this tournament so far. It is the Kiana. He haven't won a Lee Sin yet, but it's also one of his signature pick to come out.
Yeah, with the Kiana and the Lee Sin banned away, they are just trying to pinch Mojito's pool a little bit. I think Husha has been relatively quiet compared to what we usually expect from him, what we saw from him in the PCS.
I agree with you because to me, honestly, he's been a bit underwhelming coming into this tournament so far. Husha seemed like someone who was able to challenge River on PSG, and it seemed like it was going to be a very pivotal jungle matchup for this guy to bring out in this tournament. But as you said yourself, so far he's not been able to leave his mark.
We'll see if this is the series where he can take some action. Lucian will be the first pick, one of our highest pick and one of our highest presence champions across the course of Plains. 95% of games he's either picked or banned, and here Galatasaray, after choosing blue side, elect for this to be their first pick.
It's very interesting as well because it is a pick that requires some play and attention towards the bottom lane if we are acknowledging that it is going down to the bot side. And that would be a bit interesting for Galatasaray that has been such a top side heavy team so far. It's been what they were doing in the TCL playoffs. It's been what they've had success with on the first day of Worlds as well. But them adapting their style is not something I'm against. And speaking of adapting their style, if this Aurelia does come through on the side of Beyond Gaming, that would mean that they are focusing their attention elsewhere on the map.
I love this Aurelia. Of course, we did see the Lilia flex from Beyond against C9. Didn't work out too well for them in the end, but here, Lilia very likely to go into the jungle. Aurelia likely to go up to Liang in the top lane. He is consistently that sort of damage threat in the top lane for BYG in the PCS, and the question is, can he put this team on his back once again? Galatasaray, though, they found another jungler that is strong, that is AD, that can assassinate, and that is the Talon here for Mojito.
Yeah, so far Mojito as a jungler has won 2 games here at Worlds. One game was on Kiana, the other game was on the Talon, and I think it's a great champion for a guy like Mojito in the past that was more like a guy that outperformed the enemy jungler in terms of experience and in terms of gold by stealing away the camps. But with a pick like Talon, you're allowed to acknowledge and show your mechanics at the same time while moving around so fast on the map to actually help out your lanes. And to solidify the last mid laner here, it's going to be Zoe for Balulu, and having a mid laner with priority in the early game is going to be so pivotal for this series in terms of where they want to lead their resources. Emily was talking a bit about it on the desk, but the fact that you get to dictate where you want to put your pressure in the early game and what stylistic and top side or bot side you want to play for is going to be super pivotal for the entire series.
That's something Balulu's been really good on during the regular season in the TCL as well. 4-1 on his Zoe, 14 KDA on it, and when you team it up with a roaming jungle threat like this Talon, it gives Galatasaray this really strong top side of the map, which is what has worked for them so far in play-ins. Kino going towards the Leona, very strong support pick. I think Kino generally has been a bit underwhelming, so putting him on a tank that has easy engage tools makes a lot of sense for Beyond.
Yeah, definitely. And while this Lucian most of the time has been seen go down towards the bottom side of the map, you can still proc the new passive he got with a jungler with some slow or anything, able to open up some CC like a bubble for Roam if Balulu were to go up here. But it's going to be interesting to see. So far, 2 supports have been moved away from the Lucian. Nami, as you said yourself, an obvious ban, and then Alistar as well to deal with some of the aggression you also get from Leona, and Leona specifically, one of the best supports we've been having the entire tournament.
She definitely is. As I'm just about sorting out my microphones, apologies for that. There's the Vayne locked in for Beyond, putting a lot of eggs in the doggo basket. A very short range AD carry, actually not locked. Being baited slightly by the overlay there. Looks like Vayne was just hovered. Kai'Sa will be locked in at the end. Actually something we saw Doggo have a very good performance on at MSI with PSG.
Yeah, it's something we talked about as an AD carry as well. One of these champions that kind of fell out the meta since you don't really have this sort of backline dive that we used to have when Nocturne was in the meta and it was all about dogpiling. But now when you already have the Aurelia, that's going to be a problem for the enemy to deal with. Having that Leona to facilitate and engage, getting that extra AD carry to dive in on the back backline won't be all too bad if you're able to accelerate your lead, which Doggo quite frankly has been in every game he's got so far, even though he was on the losing side.
Beyond, once again, putting a lot of eggs in that Doggo basket. Of course, having the Aurelio alongside, it does give you some more dive threat. It's kind of reminiscent of these compositions we saw throughout summer, where you had like Nocturne and Kai'Sa who would dive onto the backline. This ability to assassinate the enemy. We'll see how Beyond are able to utilize it in this game. But on the other side, Crazy's gone up towards his cannon, played it last time these two teams met, and was dominant on that pick.
Yeah, I already like the quick adaptation that's coming through from the last picks of Galatasaray. The Braum super nice into Aurelia that likes to get into your face. If you can just auto-attack her once and all of a sudden have your teammates stun her up, can be a super easy target to blow up if you are able to Remnants all that damage down. And then obviously you have the cannon. If you have an enemy team composition that wants to dive into you, you're not relying on a flank. You can just have a zoning cannon ultimate or just stand on top of your carries and wait for the enemy to come into you. And come into you, there's a lot of that. You have the Yone, you have the Aurelia, the Lilia to facilitate some sleep, and obviously the Kai'Sa and Leona for that backline dive. So Beyond Gaming, with a team composition that's very reliant on their solo laners, which is something I did not expect coming into this one, but I'm loving it because if you are able to challenge Galatasaray and their solo laners, then you're able to challenge them on their strongest win conditions.
This is the debate that we had before this game really started. Galatasaray so often a team that plays around mid-jungle into top. You know, get that top side of the map ahead, leave bot side a little bit on an island. Whereas Beyond have always been focused on, well, if we can keep it sort of an even keel in the early game, get Doggo ahead, he will then carry the game for us. Here it feels like Beyond put a lot more impetus on that top side of the map, as you say, with the Aurelia, with the Yone. I will say, it's only the second time we have seen the Yone picked here by Mawan in the mid lane. Played against C9 as well. They did end up losing that game, but I think some people would say Galatasaray and C9 are slightly different caliber of opposition.
Yeah, definitely agree on that one. And it also goes back to what we talked about. You know, Beyond Gaming coming from PCS, they look like an entire different team to what actually showed up here at the first stages of play-ins. Did not look like the team that was challenging PSG. Just quite frankly, looked like Galatasaray Esports. Like that was what we saw come out from Beyond Gaming. Galatasaray as well, a team that Emily was talking about that came in with actually some sort of weak early game from what they had in TCL. They weren't very proactive. Then all of a sudden, first stages of play-ins, they started to be proactive. And you need that as well with a talent like this now that you're drafted for yourself that has Ignite in the jungle to try and shut down the top side of the map. Because if this game snowballs in favor of Beyond Gaming, not only are the champions super scary once they get early shield bows in, Galatasaray as a team and stylistically does not perform well when they don't have a lead at 15 or 20 minutes.
Galatasaray tend to lose games when they're behind, even if it's only a small amount of gold. And consistently in the TCL, they were ahead 19-1 in gold leads. That was their win-loss across the course of the regular season. Here we see nothing too inventive from either team to start us off. A couple of wards being placed down, but really just to get a small semblance of vision more than anything else. It looks like junglers might be starting on the same side of the map. Zerxing and Alive could look just to start in the lane here to get that early level 2. Yeah,
really to no surprise at all. I think obviously the top laners are going to be making their way up towards the top side when you have a lane that's so easily snowballable as the Aurelia into the cannon. And a lot of pressure is going to be on Crazy as well. In the past, in TTL, he is a laner that has had a lot of forward percentage to the point where he's really good at getting an individual lead for himself, but also to the point where we've seen him get caught out a lot because he is making some ego plays, he is making some skill checks on his opponent to see how well they actually are doing. And that's something that can be punished by ganks.
With Husha pathing up towards that top side, that is definitely a possibility for Beyond. Early on though, both junglers just looking for that first full clear. Looks like Husha has the slight advantage. Lilia, of course, strong AoE, a very good clearer through the jungle, and with all that extra movement speed can work her way through these camps pretty quickly.
But also just taking stock at it so far, it seems like it's the Galatasaray laners that are building up these slow stacked waves, and you know, having a talent that can move up to the top side of the map fairly quickly. I'm not saying they're gonna go for a dive just yet, because the Lilia is pathing up here and they should have the intel on that. But I'm saying that if there is a Scuttle Crab that they want to fight for in the early game, so far it just looked like Galatasaray would have the lead on that, with now Mojito making his way up here as well.
I mean, all three lanes are pushed in for Galatasaray, kind of to be expected in the cannon to Aurelia. here because you have range advantage. Zoe into Yone as well, you have the range advantage. And even in the bottom lane, well, Lucian can sling out twice as many bullets as Kai'Sa can. Kai'Sa's Q nerf actually really cost her in terms of her early lane clear. So all lanes pushed in for Galatasaray does give Mojito roam of the map. He can do whatever he wants, but usually what he does with this is he goes in and steals away jungle camps. He doesn't always go for early kills, early assists. Moreover, he tries to put his enemy jungler behind.
Exactly, and with how fast the Talon is clearing right now, you can see he's doing the the Grump and the blue buff at the same time. He could be looking to move into... Wait, what happened with the blue buff? Okay, he just decided to skip it and go to the Scuttle immediately to make sure that Husha was not going to be able to contest it, and now he's going to continue skipping it, it seems, and just move down to the bottom side or look around the mid lane for any potential engage.
Well, the big thing with this is skipping that gives him time to get this double Scuttle, right? Lilia has backed off, but they don't know the fact that Husha's decided to back away. You saw actually Zergsting walked up into the bottom side river to track if Husha was on this Scuttle Crab, and because Mojito skipped his blue, he made sure he got that top side Scuttle Crab before Husha could get there, and now he gets the bottom side Scuttle Crab as well, and his blue's still up. You go back, that's like the chicken nuggets you left in the freezer, right? You know they're there, you can come, you can fry them up, and you're going to get them in the end.
I don't know about you, but I like that fresh chicken nugget instead of the reheated one.
Hey, look, we're not all posh lads like you, okay? I can't get all these posh chicken nuggets that are fresh. I'm a frozen chicken nugget man, right?
That's fair, that's fair. But with that, you know, he can still full clear the entire top side now. So the thing is, you're on this talent right now where you haven't got off a reset yet. Oh my god.
Crazy just kills him here. Flash auto? Oh, he didn't quite have the damage. Liang will back away, did have to burn his flash for it. Crazy decided not to expend the flash of his own, but because of that wave state, he can just back away, and that's going to, I believe, push back in towards him.
But this is the crazy we know from the TCL as well. You spot the Lilia down towards the bottom side of the map, and all of a sudden he just wants to excel that pressure that he has in this lane. He still has the TP, and he is going to respond to Liang. But yeah, he could have flashed for that on the tower. Didn't feel like risking it, but that potentially could have been the first spot. But moving on to the two junglers with the point now, Mojito, because he haven't backed, he's actually at a deficit. So if any skirmishes were to arise around these jungler, if they have the intel that Mojito did in fact not do his blue buff yet, then you can actually skirmish around it with. You can see Maoan now, he's building up a mid lane that can be stacked in. You can have the Lilia now move on towards the blue buff, and you have Liang that just pushed in topside a little bit to back you up if you want to invade on the blue buff.
We'll see if Husha decides that's where he wants to put his focus, instead going up towards the Krugs. And we kind of got a little bit of a flashback to Crazy on day one there when they played against Beyond. Now, he did get a lot of attention from Mojito and Balulu in the early game, but it was against PK that Crazy really developed a lead for Galatasaray, and it's why we were actually so happy to see them succeed on the first couple of days, was because they were utilizing the fact that they had this strong top laner.
Exactly, because for a lot of analysts, when they came into Galatasaray, they thought they were going to be one of the weaker teams, because the entire meta of League of Legends for so long has been, if you're not proactive, you're just going to get outrun and outstomped by your opponent. But what Galatasaray did is that they actually came in with this adaptation. And now I wonder, with top lane being stacked up here, with Mojito finally making his way up there, are they going to go for some accelerated play soon to try and invade some camp respawners, or are they just going to keep it slow? Because remember, Medic, this has been the Galatasaray style for so long as well. Yes, they can be proactive, but they're also feeling insanely comfortable by just taking it extremely slow.
Yeah, look at how many pings are going down on Mojito right now. They know that he's in that area of the map. He's going to jump across the ward, has the Oracle sticking away. Husha waiting in the wings, not yet level 6. Liang dives forward. There's a slicing mash from TP coming in as the Shadow Assault is being used, and Liang is dead before anyone can respond. Maoan with the TP coming in, Swell Seed used. There's the Fate, Tempered Fate, and we'll be able to get a kill off the back of it. And that Fate sealed there from Maoan was able to get a counter kill, but Beyond Gaming having to burn the TPs to get into that fight.
Yeah, and all in all, that's really not bad for Mojito. The fact that he dies there on the top side is super nice, because if you take a look at the minimap, you can see all his bot side camps, they are respawning right now. You burned the TP for Maoan as well, so you can continue with this sort of play. Get Balulu to get priority in the mid lane and move up. And this setup really is super nicely done. It's this stacked wave that we talked about with Crazy that he's been able to build up. The fact that Mojito can just come in for the dive immediately with no flash on the Aurelia, super nice. Balulu does get here a little bit later, but he doesn't have to expend a TP. He gets to take away Husha's flash as well. So all in all, from a summoner spell perspective, super nicely done by Galatasaray.
There's still 1,000 gold lead here as they look for Maoan in the mid lane. Doesn't have the TP, of course, because he used it earlier. So Mojito, whatever chip damage you can get down here is strong, because there's a big wave pushing in. Maoan now has to decide, do I defend this underneath the tower, or do I respect the fact that Talon could be a mage? He's going to go for the defense. unbinds his soul, then rebinds it as he goes back. And for the moment, Balulu will just look to chip away with these minions on the turret. 1,000 gold lead. It's gone down to about 700 or so now for Galatasaray, but they are still in the advantage in this game.
Yeah, but you get some breathing room now. You need to clear the bot side of the map right now. You can see Husha clearing out his blue buff, while Mojito is clearing down his bot side as well. But Riftel has been spawned on the map now, and with the crazy amount of strength that Galatasaray has been able to utilize on the top side of the map, it would not surprise me to see them continue with this pressure up here to see how fast they could extend this gold lead by getting the first Rift Herald in a bit. Then you can see how tough it is for Beyond Gaming. They basically have priority in no lanes whatsoever.
Gold leads across the map as well. 600 ahead for Crazy in the top lane. Only lane that is leading for Beyond is that mid lane. The assist coming over onto Marwan means he's about 200 gold ahead of Balulu, but Balulu still has both those summoners, has the unsealed spellbook as well if he wants to switch towards a teleport at some point. This cannon will be caught by Balulu, so there's no Omega Lols in Twitch chat right now. He gets the cannon, gets all the minions underneath the tower as well, and his Twitch chat reputation lives to fight another day.
No flash on Liang just yet, remember that, and Crazy has ultimate.
Flawless Duet coming out, there's a slicing mouse for the stun. The Flawless Duet second proc will be way too late. Mojito pours himself a drink in the top lane. He's setting up a camp.
And that's why I've been talking about Talon for Mojito specifically. He has been such a nice champion paired up with him. He gets to still have this extra CS advantage or get this extra kill pressure on the enemy jungler if he wants to do that. But you also have easy accessible ganks because you have so much mobility.
You do see a nice little trade there from Marwan in the mid lane. It's a cool interaction between the Soul Unbound and Zoe Sleep. As you travel back with your soul, you can cancel the sleep, so Marwan there eats the bubble. It's like, okay, well, I'll just go back to my soul and I will be fine. And they look for the trade. Stolen away. There's the Swell Seed going out as well with the lilting lullaby. And Mojito has his camp stolen and his life taken away.
Even then, going for that Rift Herald could be a bit greedy just because of the fact that the death timers are so low. Liang would be able to make it back into the fight. They did not have ultimate on Mojito or Crazy either. So if you ended up in a fight, well, you would just lose it regardless. But the fact that Husha gets in there, finally gets Rift Herald for himself, and all in all, 2 kills. This is great if you're Beyond fan, because Husha has been one of the critical points of Beyond Gaming in the past, but haven't been able to accelerate his leads in play-in so far.
And you can see looking across the map,
early.
It's very early gold drink, as you say, for Mojito. Husha deciding to go for the Predator plated steel caps first, so otherwise I think Husha would be at the same sort of point in terms of itemization. But the worry was for Beyond that Galatasaray, with these early kills in top lane, would be able to continue to snowball the game away from them. And now you've given away the Rift Herald. You're going onto the Dragon right now, but plates are available for Husha if he wants to put this Rift Herald down somewhere. And it's actually even on kills, so the lead for Galatasaray that could have developed has kind of dematerialized.
You're completely right, Medic. It was such a nice job by Beyond Gaming by stealing that away, because I want to reiterate what we've been talking about Galatasaray essentially is they need early game leads to win. They don't actually win if they don't have these leads. They have a very slow, methodical style where they like to just choke out their opponents with the lead they have. Take it slow, and that's why the average game time of Galatasaray is one of the slowest we have in play-ins as well. So as a Beyond Gaming fan, you also love this, because usually your win conditions have been doggo towards the mid to late game. It has been able to play around him. Being from behind isn't really the same issue there as it is for Galatasaray.
Yeah, we talked about Galatasaray wanting to get that top lane pressure, that top side of the map pressure, and they managed it for a bit, and then it started to crumble a little bit. And now with the Rift Herald going down in the mid lane, you can see Marwan just trading onto Mojito here. Rift Herald's going to charge in. They won't get all the plates still. 2 remaining on that mid lane tower. But for Beyond, this is a very nice state of affairs. Gold now even, and although Doggo has been put behind a little bit, he's about 200 gold behind in the bottom lane, he can still be really strong as the game goes on. There's actually a fight going on in the top lane. It's crazy, just solo kills Liang. Okay, Liang, I mean, I guess he didn't get any of the kills from the fights that happened earlier, so he's a lot weaker than he thinks.
Yeah, not only that, I was about to say that Beyond Gaming had actually done a really good job at keeping some defensive vision for Liang up towards the top side of the map. You can see there's 2 pink wards in the river, so if Balulu were to roam, well, then they would have the intel. But, I mean, that just doesn't matter when Liang gets solo killed by Crazy.
Husha's going to try and defend here, but the stun comes out, and Husha, pops the stopwatch, just survives for the moment, flashes away, the ignite is ticking, 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 and he will manage to get out of that one. Stopwatch, once again, saving someone's life.
Yeah, tick-tock on the clock, not enough just yet, but in the mid lane, the supports were roaming up from Kino as well. Finally, some pressure we see from the Beyond Gaming support. He's been one of a bit underwhelming, really, for me in this tournament as well at the same time, because in PCS, he was so pivotal in getting the top side ahead where they would be able to leave Doggo by themselves. This time around, so far in play-ins, it just seems like that haven't been the case, and a lot of supports have been out-roamed. But speaking of bot lane,
I like that cleanse here. He can just cleanse that one out. Kino's going to get turned back on. The Solar Flare only gets the slow as they turn back onto Kino here, and with Glacial Fissure, he's going to have to try and flash away. 150 HP on him. Flash forward, exhaust, stun once again. They try and root up alive, but the Unbreakable from Zergsting keeps Doggo at bay. Killer Instinct, one more auto is enough. Husha coming in from the side as well as the concussive blows will proc onto Doggo. Mojito's here to join the fray. Lilting Lullaby available for Husha. He will put alive to sleep and then make him not alive anymore. Mojito a little bit too late for the play.
Yeah, not only that, alive feeling a bit too confident, dashing forward in that exchange. And Doggo, once again, despite his support going down, feeling so confident and continuing with the 1v2 before Husha finally shows up. So Beyond Gaming, although they are taking blows, they are not out just yet.
I did see as well Crazy dying during that play. I think Mawan perhaps roamed up towards the top side of the map because he's now got a kill on the board alongside 2 assists. And Liang, because of that, was able to get a couple more plates in the top lane. We'll have another look at it. I'm pretty sure this isn't a pure 1v1, but it might be.
I mean, there is teleport in the mid lane, but it does look like a 1v1 from this point of view, Medic. I mean, okay, so
here he comes.
Balulu ends up joining the fight, Bubble gets missed, and then as soon as Mawan is here, Crazy is caught off guard, it seems.
Burns his flash to get away. Fight off towards the top side now as Mawan will TP back in, but being able to shut down Crazy a little bit is very good for this Yone. You can see he's already got Immortal Shield Bow and the Executioner's calling. Mawan, not usually a focus for Beyond. I mean, you could say that about any player on their team apart from Doggo. He's usually the one getting all the gold, but here, he's in a pretty good position coming into this mid-game.
I completely agree with you, and you know, we've been talking a lot about Galatasaray solo laners in the beginning of this game, but now reaching this 15-minute mark and we take stat at where they really are. Mawan now finally showing up. I think he was one of the biggest weaknesses in play-ins just because it never really felt like there was any pressure. This time around, he is actually outperforming.
No flash on Crazy. No Lilting Lullaby for Husha. There's a Slicing Maelstrom coming out, but Lulu's going to keep Mawan at bay. And it will be all for naught in the top lane.
Just like this, they keep the pressure going here. I still like it for Galatasaray, but Lulu, he's willing to give up CS to move up here. He's willing to continue to see if they can get some picks on this weaker top lane with the CC of Crazy. But with Rift Herald spawning in just a moment, there could be more skirmishes to arise.
They're looking for alive, no flash, no cleanse, no way out of this one. Solar Flare finds his mark and Kino will take the kill. Zergsting next on the menu as Mawan will join the fray. Want to give this one over to Doggo if you can. Doggo takes it 2-0-2 now on the Kai'Sa.
And just like that, this game feels very Beyond Gaming favorite. We were talking about how pivotal the early game was from both teams here, but Beyond, one of these teams that would be willing to outperform them in team fights later just because you have Doggo. And speaking of the man, 2-0-2 right now, Kraken Slayer in hand. And it looks like they're finally willing to take these 2v2. They're feeling confident. Just like the top side of the map is becoming now. Rift Herald is up and available. You can see on the minimap Medic, Doggo, Kino, they are moving up here to join the fray.
It looks like Galatasaray will not fight it at all. A 3,400 gold lead now from Beyond after what was a very explosive start for Galatasaray. They continue to fall deeper and deeper into this hole, and some of these plays look like someone has given them a shovel at times as well. Rift Herald picked up now for Husha. He can use that wherever he wants. They're going to give over the second dragon for this. They know that they don't have any bot side pressure, so Doggo and Kino just went straight to mid. Mawan's now going to catch the bot wave, but Beyond will be very happy with this state of affairs. You can crack top lane tier 1, you can crack mid lane tier 1, and it just opens up the map so much more.
Mid lane is already cracked, and that's the big thing, because now you get to push in mid lane. That has a response. You can see Balulu has to be there and be that response. And now with the priority, they can move Kino up towards the top side and try to fight for this tier 2 with the Rift Herald. And honestly speaking, I think they should just be able to get it.
It's a lot of gold that would go over to Beyond if they can. Balulu there misses the Sleepy Trouble bubble. Tower not quite falling, respecting the fact that Crazy has the Slicing Maelstrom, and in the end it will go down. Balulu once again poking with the paddle staff from across the wall, but that poke really isn't too much at all for Liang. He shrugs it off like water off a duck's back. 17 minutes into the game. Beyond very much in control of this one, and it only gets better for them as this game goes on, because a player that's been relatively quiet until the last couple of minutes is Doggo, but now he's sitting at Kraken Slayer, he's building up towards his next item, he's in a very strong position to actually start carrying these later game team fights.
He definitely is. Doggo's so pivotal for this team, and you know, he's that kind of player that doesn't mind waiting around either. He knows when he feels himself in these team fights. We saw it on the Draven yesterday as well. Honestly had a very slow laning phase up until the point where he started having his teammate members suddenly collapse on him, play for him, and that is who Doggy is. Look at that damage percentage, 38.9%. That should, okay, so we were talking about this, and we have seen AD carries have this in singular games, but as a statistic over multiple games, this is absolutely insane. This stat isn't there either, but Doggo also has the highest kill participation on his team, and that is almost never the AD carry that has that on a team.
It's just Beyond puts so many resources into this guy, and usually their playstyle is play through him. This game, that hasn't been the case. It's been play through Husha, play through Liang, kind of reacting to the fact that Crazy and Mahita were able to get Galatasaray ahead in the early game, but as we get towards the team fighting portion, Galatasaray very much on the losing end of these trades so far. They're now pushing 4 members strong in the mid lane. Mahito just off towards the side as Beyond try and defend with 3. They don't have the best wave clear as a squad unless they can get up into that minion wave. And with Mauen and Liang on side lanes, you can see Galatasaray are trying to make something happen here in the mid lane.
They have time to do this. They're waiting for the lanes to be pushed in, and then they can collect them afterwards. But so far, they are actually not responding. And because of this, Mauen's just able to accelerate that pressure down in the bot side that you were talking about. And it's going to continue like this. Either, as Galatasaray, you have to be willing to commit to a play on one of these side lane, catch one guy out when he's weak, or else you have to commit to some of these fights. And you don't want to do that at the tier 1 at the mid lane, which is almost 100% going to favor Beyond Gaming. So for Galatasaray, you can see they are feeling a bit desperate to find this fight, but we have Drake at 2 minutes. They already have 2 for themselves, and this needs to be one of these team fights that they need to accelerate this pressure. They have the tools, they have the cannon, they have the talent, and they have the From.
It really feels like that's the one saving grace, right? You have these 2 dragons, you can make sure that Beyond fight you for the 3rd, and then you have a strong composition to at least assassinate 1 player on the enemy team. The issue is, it's not just 1 threat on the enemy team. And alongside that, even if you say, we want to kill Doggo, he has Killer Instinct, he has Cleanse, he has Flash, he has not only shields, but also repositioning tools when the fight breaks out.
And that's also one of the things I love about Beyond Gaming in this draft, is that Doggo is no longer just your only concern. Mauen, for the first time, I feel like in this tournament, is a real threat. Husha on the Lilia, 3-0. 2 items, building towards the 3rd. He's going to be so easy accessible in setting up the plays, really, when people come diving into you. And then I love the adaptation by Kino of grabbing an exhaust, because he knows that the backline threat of a cannon or the Talon is going to be nullified by this, and that's super important once we get to the team fight stages.
Beyond very comfortable in this position in the game, following in the footsteps of PSG, who made it to the group stage last year through the play-ins. I think a lot of people will look at Beyond and wonder about their group, like their play-in group performance. A little bit disappointing for a PCS team, but it's hard when you're in the shadow of PSG, because PSG are so consistently a step above everyone else in this region. I think people over-expected from Beyond as they look for a fight in the mid lane. Solar Flare coming out, Alive's able to dodge away. TP's now used by both teams. There's a flank here for Beyond, but already Kino's dead in the slicing. Maelstrom will rip them asunder! Vanguard's Edge does nothing. Lian immediately exhausted. Mauen trying to trade in here, but he will be shut down by Mahito. And Galatasaray, seemingly out of nowhere, find the fight they were looking for.
And that was just so overforced for the side of Beyond Gaming, and it looks like Bululu, he's not even done yet. You are up against Doggo, and you are going to have to bail out after that one. Doggo doing some good trading there, but that was Beyond Gaming looking for that fight. They were the one who flashed in, and honestly, it leaves me with some question marks, because they were the one who was pushing in the mid lane. They were the one with vision control around to Drake, and you could have just waited for Galatasaray to come into you rather than moving on the support here. Really questionable plays, really.
Just a call that shouldn't have been made there by Beyond, and Galatasaray very happy to take everything that Beyond have given them here. You can see, as you say, it's TP into Kino Flash Solar Flare.
It's super interesting because the TPs are not coordinated either. Solo laners are TPing at different times, so as soon as Liang finally joins the fight, it's already over. He flashes in to make the Aurelia highlight play, but you're not getting anything out of it. And now they've started up Baron.
Doggo having to cleanse. The third dragon was secured here for Galatasaray. That means Ocean Soul, 4.5 minutes away for them. They are still a little bit behind in terms of pocket wealth, 3,000, 4,000 gold. Thereabouts the difference between these two squads, but we've seen Galatasaray, if they can get a good engage from Crazy, if he can get onto that backline with a slicing Maelstrom, he just rips through Beyond.
That's also an example of how it looks like if you're able to split up the members of Beyond, if they're able to come in at disjointed times, because as a whole cohesive unit, diving onto you with the backline dive, there is some Beyond Gaming, they're super difficult to deal with. But if you can pick them apart, then suddenly that job becomes way easier. And now it's come to the point again where Crazy, once again, is in charge of these side lanes. You can see Galatasaray as a unit are playing these two lanes because they can afford themselves to do this. Maoan is pushing the bot lane. It's going to take ages before he reaches the tower, and because of this, they get time to play around with. They get time to be proactive.
Shadow Assault onto Liang. He's going to use the Vanguard Stage and try and dive back onto Mojito, who is dead. Liang in the 2v1 manages to get away until Balulu flashes for the final order, but now Beyond know they have a man advantage in the mid lane. They know there were 3 players from Galatasaray on the top side of the map, and they've been outmoved here. This is a tier 2 falling in the mid lane. Beyond can now back away and get vision around the Baron as well.
Yeah, completely right, Medic. They used the extra time where they saw so many members of Galatasaray. They overreached. It's fine to go for the first turret, but once you leave yourself up towards the tier 2 turret, it gives Beyond Gaming so much more time to capitalize on the bottom side, and now they are waiting around.
Alive still has cleanse and flashes. Going to use the flash to try and get away. Xerxing trading in with the Glacial Fissure. Fate won't be able to find its mark, and Maoan walks away. For the moment, though, Beyond just looking to get those summoners out of Alive. They know there's 2.5 minutes on the Ocean Soul, and if you can make Alive burn his flash, it's a great move. We see the Swirl Seed go for a little bit of a split there. Husha isn't going to win any awards for his bowling today.
Yeah, the fate not quite sealed just yet, and as you talk about with the Summoner spells, Medic, they are soon to be up as well. Crazy potentially would have it up for the next strike, but the same can be said for the rest of Beyond. And here we see it again. Going for the first pressure you get of pushing the tier 1 turret, it's completely fine. But continuing on the dive then really leaves open the rest of the map. Even if Liang ends up going down here, you've already spent so many resources up towards the top side of the map. You had Xerxing moving up as well, and realistically speaking, you only had Alive left to defend your tier 2 turret in the mid lane, so it really left open the rest of the map.
It really felt like Mojito and Balulu just overestimated the damage they could get through. You have to remember that W Defiant Dance on the Aurelia, that reduces, up to like 70% physical damage while it's being charged, and up to 40%, 35% magic damage while it's being charged if you max it out. So obviously Liang won't have it maxed here, but there's a lot of damage reduction coming from that singular ability. And because of that, Mojito pays for it with his life. Second item complete now on Balulu, though he has that Rabadon's. If we see Galatasaray in a position where they can poke, where they can get some of that chip damage down first, can put Beyond in quite a difficult situation to fight, but Beyond will be very willing just to run straight at Galatasaray, assuming they can keep Crazy at arm's length.
And this now, the next minute, also becomes a battle of control, Medic, because it is that Drake that respawns in 1 minute. It is that Baron that still can be fretted, especially because Doggo is on the Kaiser with 3 items and the Rage Blade. So you can see right now, Beyond Gaming just taking over control of the entire map. They have the top side in a favorable position. Bot side is slow pushing in towards them, but right now they don't care about that. Right now they only care about the mid lane control to just threaten the Baron, threaten the potential Drake.
Of course, that Scuttle Crab helping Galatasaray out quite a lot here, as they know Beyond can't be walking straight towards it. Husha caught with a Sleepy Trouble bubble. Takes about a 1/5 of his HP, and Crazy now in a really good flank position here. He's on a control ward, but pops out a shuriken there and will be spotted. Doggo down, lost about 500, 600 of his health. Galatasaray continue just to step back into this fog of war. That ward is going to help out Beyond quite a lot, but it's immediately swept away by Crazy. You can see the sweeper on the Kennen, sweeper on Mojito, and sweeper on Xerxing. Definitely helping in Galatasaray gaining vision here. Beyond trying to set up around this dragon. Ocean Soul up for Galatasaray. In 5 seconds time would be Beyond's first dragon of the game, but Galatasaray are looking for this fight.
Oh my lord!
Where the battle's won, as you say. Husha forced away, can heal up from jungle camps, but there's a sleep once again onto Liang, and Balulu continues to land these. Liang forced to walk away. Husha's healed up, has used the smite, but has another one coming in about 10 seconds time. Galatasaray now have control of the battleground, control of this war zone. Beyond in that bush, just trying to hide, trying to keep Galatasaray guessing as to where they could be. Husha still there, Liang back, but look at the damage from Balulu and the fight into the Ocean Drake is secured. TP is coming in, and Beyond, you have to take this fight right now, because otherwise you're just going to lose to the Ocean Drake. Flawless Joy coming out, slicing out from Muse as well. Doggo diving into the back line, and there's damage. Mawan takes one. Liang's able to get a kill up towards the back, as well as Husha tries to dive onto Alive. Balulu's Xing and Alive, retreating, stepping back, walking away from Beyond right now, but Husha still on the chase. No losing Lullaby, but he gets the slow with a swirl seed. Kino doesn't have flash. He will go in for it. There's a Flawless Joy, but there's stopwatch from Balulu will keep him alive. He manages to get a 1-for-1. Alive and Zergsting now backing away. Will they try and contest at this Baron?
They're going to go for it. There's still 20 seconds on towards the solo laners of Crazy here. He does have that teleport with this Baron. It is going down fast. It is Doggo, so they need to neutralize him. Cleanse have been issued.
Cleanse away from the Winter's Bite to the slow. That's the Baron low. Husha, no smite, no smite, no smite. Alive, alive, but not for very long. Shutdown comes in. Husha keeps the Baron aggroed, and Beyond play that about as well as they could. They take the Baron and they take down Alive and Zergsting.
And what a crazy turn of events really throughout the course of the first Drake fight that we get. It's such a split up fight, and all in all it really just comes down to the fact that Mojito, he's able to get in here untouched. Very early smite came out from Mojito, and once the fight breaks out, they are so split and they're just getting collapsed up from multiple ends. You have 3 members to the right, 1 from the downside and 1 from the north side. So after this, super easy for this chase down potential. You get in the swirl seed, you get from Kino's flash to get Balulu, and then afterwards turn on the Baron.
Good flash Zenith Blade there to make sure they can catch out Balulu. And he's about to go to sleep, but Kino able to find its mark, and then the Baron fight afterwards. Good thing for that, of course, is it means Beyond can once again look to this 1-3-1 if they want it. We saw it for a brief window earlier on with Mawan and Liang in side lanes. Liang doesn't have teleport though, so has to be very aware of the fact that he couldn't join a fight if it did begin.
But now it also leaves that priority open here for Crazy with his own TP if they are splitting it up with some flank wards. So while the Baron buff is issued by Beyond here and the Baron power play has been active, then there is still the potential of you getting collapsed if you open up the map too much. So you always have to be ready. And that's why you can see right now the only member they're feeling comfortable split pushing with, it is Mawan, because he is the only one with that teleport active.
Steps forward into the Galatasaray jungle. Galatasaray on the back foot, 6,400 gold behind, but they do have that Ocean Soul. And we saw how much healing it can do just in the last fight alone. 3 minutes on the Elder. Feels like once again we will see a war at that Dragon Pit. Beyond trying to get the waves pushing in at the same time. 2 Baron buffs on them. Sleep's gonna land there, but counter sleep used. Losing Lullaby there, expended by Husha to make sure that Balulu couldn't actually get any more damage down. Mawan will continue to push in this bot wave, but has to be cautious, has to be careful, because Mojito and Crazy are on their way. The rest of Beyond on their way as well. It looks like Mawan wants to trade this one in. Doesn't get much more than a bit of chip damage on that tower. Yeah,
but he's doing a good job at just accelerating the push in by himself while you have multiple members moving back and forth here. So they're trying to get control of the jungle, but you always have to be wary of that one guy. Balulu with the bubbles and the paddle stars. He's just saving grace for Galatasaray right now.
Oh, and his 3rd time representing Turkey at an international competition. Balulu continues to show just why he has been at the top of this region so many times before. That time with 3 different teams as well. It was on
super impressive.
Fenerbahce, Supermassive, and now on Galatasaray. It was actually part of the Supermassive team that took down Mad Lions in this very match last year. Be looking to make it one step further. Last time they were knocked out in the 2nd round of playoffs in the play-in stage. This time, of course, Balulu will be looking to pilot this squad to the group stage.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't go as last time. Win this match and then get knocked out before you have your groups coming in.
Yep.
But this will for sure go down to a Baron fight or an Elder Drake. That's going to be spawning in 2 minutes. No team is willing to pull that trigger and just go for the backline dive just yet. And therefore, once again, controls become pivotal for Beyond Gaming. It's setting yourself up for success. It's setting yourself up for that team fight. Make sure Crazy can't come in from a flank and collapse on them, as you saw around the Drake pit earlier for Galatasaray. Finding these bubbles with Balulu, having Mojito to dogpile onto them and go invisible and just make his way out. Pivotal for you as well. So there are win condition for both teams right now, but in terms of ease of execution, make no mistakes, Beyond Gaming, they are in control.
You can see that they're the ones pushing these waves in. It's Galatasaray catching them predominantly towards where their own tier 2s would usually stand. All the waves in a little bit of a tricky position because Galatasaray don't really have the vision here either. You can see they're stepping in, they're clearing out control wards, but you have to do this as a multi-man squad. You can't just go by yourself. Be like, okay, I'll clear out bot wave, I'll push in, I'll get control wards for myself. No, you need a couple of people there because if Beyond were just waiting in a bush, you'd have no knowledge of it. 50 seconds though on the Elder now. Beyond will do exactly the same, but in the opposite direction. They step in as a 4-man. Liang with the TP can join this fight if he needs. Kino's going to Hex Flash across the wall, and you can see Galatasaray. That one ward in the Dragon Pit may be their savior, and it may be Beyond's undoing.
But they do still have pink wards ready to be deployed for Kino here. They can still clear out the pit. There's no need to do just yet. You can't just wait till it respawns. All you need to take control of right now is this red side jungle. Make sure that the ground that Galatasaray has to cover before entering, it's so big. But oh my god. And that is your saving grace once again. That is what you're counting on as a Galatasaray fan. Finding that paddle star, finding these bottles before the fight break out. That is what you're looking for.
Bolulu just so strong at this point. Void Staff, Ludens, Rabadons, topping the charts in terms of damage, I am sure. Beyond, though, do have a lot of lifesteal, a lot of health regeneration on their side, even if they haven't been able to pick up any of those Ocean Drakes. And they will start the Baron. They spot Zergstin. They do not know that Mojito is here. They put a couple of wards in the back of the pit, and Bolulu's going to continue to put the paddle stars out. Didn't jump across the wall. Here goes Mojito. Shadow Assault in. Glacial Fissure used as well. The Dragon resets. They got it! Oh, Bolulu! You absolute madman! I can't believe Bolulu secures it for his team. Elder now on Galatasaray, and take a bow, Bolulu.
And that is so pivotal because 20 seconds, Medic. Then you have the Baron respawning. Yes, you're missing your jungler, but in those 40 seconds, he's going to be joining you. He's going to be coring the rift to make it up here as soon as possible. And all of a sudden, this game has swung once again. You have the Ocean Soul. You have the Elder Drake. And now you just need the Baron buff to try and put the finishing touches onto this game. So I wonder, Beyond, are you feeling you should just start it up before Mojito can join the fight? And I think that is going to be the call.
Going to kick it off. 11,000 HP on that Baron. Zergstin's going to face check into Kino. They don't have vision on this. Well, Seed goes wide. That Baron's gone before they can even get there. Solar Flare coming out as well. And perhaps Beyond will look to take this fight. Bait sealed into the sleep. Into Doggo diving into the backline. Bolulu flushes away. Doggo goes godlike. Crazy retreating from this as well. And Galatasaray will just want to save every man they can. Zergstin trying to trade onto Kino here. A couple of auto attacks would have been enough with that Elder buff. Ticking. Kino will manage to survive. Doggo almost eats a paddle star. Crazy goes in. Slicing Maelstrom. This is a perfect decision here from Galatasaray because they know they can get Doggo caught out. Shadow Assault across the wall, and there's the shutdown. Now the AD carry's dead. Mojito still diving forward. Oh! Give this man a gold medal, TCL, because he's putting you on his back this game. Bolulu slept on the backline with the looting lullaby. It's a double slip coming out, but Crazy can just put the damage down by himself. Kino's down, shut down. In the end, Liang's going to try and dive back in, but Bolulu, the paddling, he's just slapping them around right now. Liang goes to sleep. The stopwatch is popped. The GA goes down. And Bolulu, he is not done.
In the heat of controversy, he doesn't miss. In the heat of battle, he doesn't miss. And Bolulu for Galatasaray is the man of the hour, keeping them alive. He stole the Elder Drake. He keeps finding these paddle stars for them in these fights. And together with Crazy, the solo laners once again are keeping their hopes alive of taking the first game in this best of 5 series.
It's the poke coming out from this Zoe that just constantly changes this landscape of fights in favor of Galatasaray. They are 5,000 gold behind. They've been 5,000 gold behind for the longest time, and I just want to draw your attention back to that decision to dive on Doggo, because that's what really changed this fight around.
Yeah, but I actually feel like this Baron call in the beginning from Beyond is so good because the death timers get so skewed. You have Mojito that's first respawning now. Now you have to wait for Liang that takes another 50 seconds, and because of this, you would have to wait for so long with fighting the Elder Drake. So as Beyond right now, I think you're overreaching a little bit. You got the Baron, you got 2 kills, and once you get split up in the enemy jungle, you allow Crazy to collapse on you. Remember, these champions are so mobile. Bolulu, he's stealing away the flash. Mojito's a talent that parkours all over the entire map. And because of the Ocean Soul, they also get to take these fights so extended. They win out on the war of nutrition. And once again, Bolulu, you just have to complement his prowess in these skirmishes.
I would also say, A Fed Zoe with Elder is flipping broken, man. It's like, how much long-range damage do you need right now? Zhonya's complete for Balulu as well, so he is even more slippery, even trickier to kill. And once again, Gorborg, it feels like we're going to get to the point where it's another Drake or another Baron. Like, this game is likely just going to stall out until either another Elder or another Baron fight.
It's becoming no man's war here. You're ducking out your trenches with the war, fog of war you are creating for yourself here. The vision pockets, that's going to be so crucial because, once again, as Beyond, you're still very much in this game. Yes, the enemy has that Ocean Soul, but you have that gold lead. If you're able to pile down on a member and execute them immediately, turning onto an objective, then it's looking really good for you. But once again, Galatasaray's Balulu, he is that thorn in your side. He is that one poking you out while you're looking for this vision. To take it back to the last Elder Drake medic, you talked about that singular ward that I was like, you know what, nah, they're gonna clear it. But they didn't. And because of this control, Galatasaray was able to come in with Mojito, with Balulu, and steal it away. So going into these next objectives, going into these next couple of minutes, you want to see Beyond Gaming not make the same mistakes.
Well, let's take a breath before the storm, because it's waiting on the horizon. You can see thunderclouds in the distance, and you know we're about to get a little bit electrified. Crazy will be looking to dive onto that backline. No flash for him for about the next minute or so, but it will be up around the time the Elder Drake respawns, and now it's actually Galatasaray on the front foot. You can see Beyond giving a little bit of ground, moving back their trenches because they know Liang is pushing in this side lane. Eventually someone will have to answer that, but I'm not sure Liang is confident enough to actually pressure that inhibitor tower. It is chipped away, but he can't really step up there and start slapping it.
It's also the fact if you don't have vision on all members, Mojito can be in the side lane and be back at Drake in the span of 20 seconds.
Yep.
So you really want to make sure that you're not the man costing you the team your lead in this one. And as you said yourself, the only reason it becomes a bit slow, it is because that they are extending their pressure out on the broader map. But for Galatasaray here, take notes to the wards behind them, because this is the important part. What they used their time with when they had that mid lane priority was to create potential flanks for Crazy to come in with the cannon, and has still not been cleared out. So Beyond Gaming, if this is not cleared out, this could be a fatal flaw in your promising plan.
Crazy is on a ward here in the mid lane though, so if he backs off to about this position, then TP's in, it will be known. Now he's going to step into the fog of war. Beyond have priority over that mid lane so they can push into this jungle. Mojito still waiting in the wings. Importantly, Galatasaray do not have a ward on the dragon itself, so they don't have that sneaky little bit of vision they had before. Husha has to flash across the wall. Xerxing now stepping forward. Galatasaray emboldened, emblazoned by the fact that Balulu continues to land this poke, can push themselves into the river, but it's through a choke point, which is always a little bit tricky. Husha back to about full HP after healing off a single camp. Why on earth champions can do that, I will never know, but he's done it for now. Elder Drake started up. Husha, no smite on the Lilia. Dogger's gonna keep it aggro, but now Balulu once again. Kino down to half HP. That's the tank. It is a Zhonya's Leona, so not as tanky as perhaps she might be, but you can just see the damage that Balulu can do by himself with a single paddle star into the sleep. Fate Seal will get him away, and Mawan will be just outside of range. That Elder is still ticking away. In fact, it's not, but Galatasaray didn't know that, and nor did I. We were in the same lack of vision as they were. Liang pushes in the mid wave. Look at where the waves are. Bot lane pushing in towards Beyond. Pushing in towards Galatasaray.
It's becoming so tense, and at this point, Galatasaray, they've opted up to just threat them forward, but at this point, they're just backing off completely. It looks like they want to be the one who's turning onto them. They want to be the one forcing the fight, but Kino, he's alone in the front line now.
Husha, smite, no flash. They do see the Elder, 6,000 HP on it. Husha with the swell seed, alive dodges away. TP coming into the mid lane, that's Liang going to try and join this fight, but that's 4,000 HP already on the Dragon. You can see Galatasaray are looking for it. It's taken, alive will secure it, and now the Elder Drake means that Beyond have to run for the hills. They have to run for their lives because already one of them has died. Husha down. Liang puts the Vanguard's edge out, has to flash the wall, but Mojito's on the chase. Doesn't have the Shadow Assault, but can still force himself forward here. Liang falls asleep, and that Guardian Angel's more like a Guardian Devil, because Galatasaray very willing to take you as soon as you die after it. Now, 19 kills to 19, Galatasaray will force themselves down this mid lane.
And Beyond Gaming, you can't forfeit an objective like that. Once you've started it, you have to flip it. If you don't flip it, then the enemy will just take it. And that's exactly what happens. And now, still the Ocean Soul, the second Elder Drake, and Balulu now with a flash in hand to execute anyone with a single paddle star.
Gotta give credit to Mojito and to Galatasaray as a team. There were a few fights around these objectives where they were behind, but they secured the Soul, they secured the first Elder, they secured the second Elder, and they continue just to push forward here. The Nexus Towers are the targets here, and they will fall. Galatasaray from behind strike first against Beyond.
And this is the adaptation we want for both teams here. They came in exceeding the expectations. Beyond Gaming actually have champions to play for in the top side, leading Doggo to come in as the Kaiser later, but it worked out them for so long in the mid game until they were no longer able to keep their ground. And for Beyond, it's the objective setup. It's the fact that it wasn't really ever in their favor. And then Balulu on that Zoe, how he were able to claw his team back into the game with his singular play. It's absolutely incredible, and it sets a good foundation for this best of 5.
It really does, and I think Beyond will be looking at it and being like, well, a single smite here, a single fight here, we would have won that game. It would have been over and done if they didn't have Ocean Soul, if they didn't have the first Elder, if they didn't have the second Elder. We could have taken that fight. It definitely sets us up for what is likely to be a very exciting series for the rest of the day. Of course, not our only series of today, because we have Peace versus Red later on as well. It's going to be a long one today, but I am loving it already.
Definitely, and I think if you take a look at the champions that came out as well going into the next draft, there's some things you have to change. If Doggo on the Kaiser, if not something you're feeling comfortable for to team fight for, well then you need more tanks like we saw yesterday with Liang on the Tam Kench instead, because on the Aurelia, great, it's a champion you can play for into the cannon. We just didn't get to see that. It was Mojito and Balulu on the move every time, and because of this, they weren't able to play for the solo laners that they have drafted for themselves.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can change things up. We are heading to a break, but as we go, let's get a quick behind-the-scenes check-in with C9 Perks.